So the question, this podcast, to answer a question, do you have to believe everything that you think? Do you have to believe everything that enters your mind? On this podcast, I'm be teaching you that you actually don't have to believe it, every thought, and that you control what you believe. So let's get into it. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Allen. 13 years ago, I suffered a brain aneurysm and a stroke. My mission of this podcast is to provide you with the support, valuable insights, and inspiration and help you need to rebuild your life after stroke. So, without further ado, here's your host, Aaron Avalon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. You know, without you, I would not be able to do what I do. So I want you to please like this video, subscribe to Stroke TV Media YouTube channel, and maybe share with a friend if you think it might help them. What? My dog's kind of... Again, my dog is barking. I have no idea why. Anyway, but this podcast gets about as real as it gets. Okay, sorry about that. I interrupted. Anyway, so the bottom line is this podcast is probably going to be a two-part series because I was working on this morning, kind of puts the final touches, and it's going to probably be at least a two-parter because it's pretty intense. So I want you to know there's almost a two-step process that goes on in your mind. First, your life is a makeup of everything you believe. And the mind is so powerful, it will take what you believe and make it and bring supporting ideas up to make it sound real, even though it may be incorrect. So you as a stroke survivor, how many of you struggle? I'm going to tell you right now, struggle in your mind with me, a stroke survivor. We as Stroke TV Media believe that the foundation of your finding a life of stroke is in your mind. The physical, all the other stuff will come with it. But you must get control of your mind and the way it thinks. Because stroke will push you to your absolute limit of what your mind thinks. And today's podcast can on that. So the question I asked at the beginning of the podcast is, can you control what is in your mind? I'm going to say yes, you control what goes in your mind. You can filter it first. And I'm going to give you two things that can filter your mind before you allow it to become a belief. And if every thought you think, you run through this filter of these two words, it'll change your life. Really will. It's changing mine. I'm learning it too. This is all newer to me. But those two words, this principle I'm going to teach you is the same for both stroke and non-stroke peeps. Although I will say, we as stroke survivors, we battle in our mind. Our main battle is what we think and how we feel about ourselves. I'm going to give you a way to filter your mind, your thoughts, before you make them a concrete belief. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to our dear brother who inspired me to do this, who taught me this theory, this principle. Mitch Axelrod. He's a stroke survivor brother, but he's also a very high-end businessman, entrepreneur, C-suite executive. So, hats of Mitch, thank you so much for providing this content, this information to me. As I apply it to my mind, my life is changing my life. And I'm here to share this with you, my stroke survivor brothers, sister, that if you apply this principle today to your mind, to your thought, it'll begin to change your life. Will. Yeah, it changes. I changed mine from the moment I began it. I'm still learning. It's not easy. What I'm about to teach you is simple, but not easy. We've been programmed for our whole lives to take our thoughts and make them beliefs. I'm going to give you thought that we could comment in strokes above world that makes you believe. You are not worth anything as circular. You're a burden. That is a thought. Now, you can hold that in, but let that go deep into your mind and become a belief, but it's not true. And these two words I'm about to give you right now, if you filter every thought you have with these two words, they will change before you let them sit in your mind as a belief. Because you are not a burden. You're not worthless. You're not worthless. You're worth something. You are here. You're alive. You're worth something. You're valuable. So I wanted to tell you right now. I'm gonna pause a second. I want to share the chat. Let me use out there chat. Oh, Kim, great to see Kim out there. Yeah, I know. Kim, hopefully what I give you, you let him watch this, and this will hopefully help him understand this. That it thoughts, not beliefs. And those two words I'm going to give you right now are the two words that Dan or anyone can filter out of their mind. If it doesn't pass this test of the two words, you don't make it a belief, you let it go. You let it pass by. It's not true. So you don't make it a belief. So here are the two words. Are you ready? Does it love me? Does the thought love me? And does the thought serve me? If it doesn't pass, and I'll explain that in a minute, but if it doesn't pass that, I call it smell test or thought test. Does it love me? What does that mean? Does it love me? Does that thought make me feel like I'm enough? Or does it make me feel like I'm not enough? Does it make me feel self love? Or does it make me feel self hate? So if it makes you feel self hate, makes you feel negative, it's not loving you. The thought is not loving you. You need to not let it become a belief and let it go through your mind. Let pass by. Think about something positive. Place it with something positive. So the second half is one, does it love me? Does it serve me? Does it make me a better person? Does it help me uh, think of myself better than I am before? So if it doesn't serve me, get rid of it. Let it pass by. You don't have to accept it. Let me get back to the comments, see what's going on in the comments out there. All right, yeah. Kim said, Kim said. By the way, Kim is a caregiver of a stroke. Her husband has a stroke, and he battles with this mind. What happens is I call it the enemy. The enemy can be our own mind. But if we train our mind not to allow thoughts to become beliefs that don't love me or serve me, we let them go. We don't let them become a belief. See, so many times we believe because we think it. We think we have to believe it. It's not true. That is a lie. Why am I different? Because I started my journey as stroke survivor thinking about my mind and seeing the role of what the mind plays. The mind is everything in stroke. I think as we get into it, as you continue to follow Stroke TV media content, I hope it will allow you to see that your mind, your thoughts are the problem. And you need to learn that your attitude and the way you think means finding a life after stroke or that you don't find it. But if you stay with Stroke TV media, we're different than pretty much everybody else out there because the physical rebuilding of your life, the movement of your arms are not priority. This journey I sat on, was on for what, 13 years now, really, really was started by that way of thinking. That when I became a stroke survivor, laying there half paralyzed, speech deficit, I can make a difference. I can make a difference. My mind be a gift to tell me I was worthless. I was burdened. I was suicidal at beginning, but it's not true because I learned that I can control my thoughts. I can control what I allow to become a belief. Meaning that, let's say, as a stroke survivor, you have a thought that you're worthless. It's just a thought. Run the filter. Does this love me or does it serve me? So many times we don't filter our thoughts and we make them beliefs. Then we begin to believe we're worthless. Well, that only leads to despair, depression, and maybe suicide. So I'm going to teach you right now. Run every thought you have, every thought, whether you're a stroke survivor or in Kim's position. She's the wife of a stroke survivor. Every thought we have as human beings be ran through the filter, those two words of filter. Does it love me? Does it serve me? If it doesn't, let it go. Do not let it sit in your mind as a belief, because then your mind will begin to pop it up as a belief. All right, yeah. All right, look at this comment from Rice, which is a close brother of mine. He gets those negative thoughts and doesn't allow them to become a belief. He then goes on doing dishes or making coffee for his wife. He does not let the thought become a belief by doing something. I'm telling you that you don't have to believe every thought you think because they're not being true, especially not true. They don't pass that test. Do they love you? Does that thought love you or does it serve you? Hey, there's good morning from Scott White, Georgia. Good morning. And there's Melissa. By the way, Melissa, I don't know if anybody has noticed, but we are building. I am building, and we are building as a team. Melissa and Corona, building a team called Empowered Stroke Coaching. And Melissa's the lead coach. She's my general manager of the new division. So I'll be giving you more information. If I have to put some information, I'll link to a blog I wrote about it. Well, okay, let's get sorry, I got sidetracked. But I want you to understand. I'm going to play a video. I mentioned Mitch Axelrod. He's the one that actually began to put me on this journey of thought, mind, thoughts, and beliefs, and how you don't have to listen to everything your mind thinks. It's not true. Running through the filter I just told you. But here's Mitch. I asked him to do a video. Let's see what he gives us. Here goes Mitch Axelrod. He's the one that taught me this.
Hi, Aaron. Great to be with you. You asked me to cover a couple of questions today, so let me riff on those two for the next 5 minutes, and you'll hopefully get something very valuable out of this. Robert Oxton Bolt was a screenwriter way back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. He wrote 3 great movies, 2 Academy Awards, Dr. Zhivago, A Man for All Seasons, Lawrence of Arabia. You might have heard of these. But I read a quote he had written about 15 years ago, maybe more now, 20. And here it is. And it changed everything about my whole belief system. So get ready. Belief is not merely an idea the mind possesses. Belief is an idea that possesses the mind. Let me repeat. Belief is not merely an idea the mind possesses. Belief is an idea that possesses the mind. Now, when I read that, I almost fell off my chair. I felt like I got hit like a bolt of lightning from Robert Oxton Bolt. And I start to re-examine all my beliefs, not whether they're right or wrong, agree or disagree, but in the light of, do I own this belief or does it possess me? Am I a servant to this belief or am I the master of this belief? And there's a big difference. And here's how you can tell simply. If you can change it, question it, criticize it, laugh at it, have other people question it, be willing to adapt it, change it, alter it, or give it up totally, you own it. On the other hand, if it owns you, then you're a servant to that belief and you organize your life around supporting the belief. All right. And now that's not a good or bad thing. That's just a thing in terms of relating to your beliefs. But it's an important thing because obviously, if you are the master of your beliefs, you control this most important mechanism up here that directs much of your life. All right. I don't call it mindset because that's actually a really bad term to use. It means a set mind. And when a mind is set in a certain way, calibrated, it's stuck there. And usually what happens is that belief begins to possess you. So where did this all lead to? It led to a very important distinction about how I live my life. My mantra, since I was 16 years old, is I love and serve people and they reward me with their money. Sounds corny and old-fashioned, happens to be true, and it's been true throughout my whole life, ups and downs, ins and outs, success and, quote, failure, setbacks. However, I developed something out of this distinction Robert Oxton Bolt gave me. And I said, well, let me examine all my beliefs now in the context of, do they love and serve me? And do they love and serve the people I love and serve? Then I began to realize that any belief that did not love and serve me or love and serve the people I love and serve, I said, why am I holding on to this? What am I getting out of holding on to a belief that may not love me, may not serve me, in fact, may be doing harm, may be creating stress, anxiety, worry, fear, doubt, uncertainty? So I developed a mantra that not only did it apply to my life, but it actually applied to business as well. And here's the mantra. If you have a belief that does not love and serve you or love and serve the people you love and serve, why are you holding on to it? Because you're getting something out of it. I'm not here to psychoanalyze what it is, why it is. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is, if you're holding on to any belief that does not love and serve you or love and serve the people you love and serve, you're creating stress for yourself. And that belief then tends to possess you. And you organize your life around making sure that belief stays intact. And instead of being open to change your thinking, you defend, you protect, you try to prove, or you ignore all the evidence to the contrary because the belief possesses you and is making sure that you don't give it up. And once you give it up, because you realize it's not loving and serving you, you're free, you're liberated from that belief. You start to gain control of this most important thing that dominates your life. So the lesson I learned was examine every belief in the context of, do I own it or does it possess me? And more important, does it love and serve me, or love and serve the people I love and serve? And start to replace all the beliefs that don't love and serve you with beliefs that do love and serve you. So that's my message for today. I thank you for listening. Thank you, Aaron, for giving me the opportunity to share this. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
I mean, it really doesn't get any more awesome than that. Thank you, Mitch. What my people? Examine your beliefs today. Do they love and serve you, or do they possess you, or do you possess them? Watch out, because stroke is brutal. When it tries to make you think all types of things that don't love and serve you. It makes you think such negative thoughts about yourself. But don't believe it. Starting today, go back to your beliefs. What you believe about yourself, stroke survivor. Run it through that filter. Does it love and serve me? Does it love and serve the people I serve? If it doesn't love and serve you, get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? Replace it. Replace it with something that does love and serve you. Don't let us take that. Don't keep trying to make, because the mind will pop it up, but to make it believe real by popping up. Oh, see, oh, see, oh, see. It's not popping up. Don't buy it. I want to teach you in the times that we have together that you are not a victim. You're not a victim of your stroke. You're not a victim of your mind. You actually have a lot more control than you think, and I'm going to teach you that. Because that's what really has made me so different in my stroke survival, is I have learned the mind, your mindset. I know Mitch says mindset. I know what he means. Set mind. But I'm saying the positive mind, the way you see reality, it's with hope of possibilities. So as we continue on with this series, it's my big push to get you to realize that stroke, finding your life at stroke, is about mastering your mind. It really is. It's about mastering your mind, because how many of us, I was one of them, and still battle it. How many of us let the negative thoughts that do not love or serve us become a belief? I know I do. I still was. I'm the one out here teaching and talking about it. It's a battle. It's a daily battle. But the more and more I do it, more and more you do it, you begin to filter the beliefs you've had in the past about yourself. You begin to filter your current beliefs about your stroke, who you are. That really is what is going to change your life. And that is really going to accelerate your life. And you will find purpose, hope again in your life as a stroke survivor. It's so strange as time has gone by so quick. I want to encourage you, everybody, because I can see this can be a 2, maybe 3-part series. But I want you, if anything we do today, I want you to start examining your beliefs. I want you to start examining your mind, what your thoughts are. The 2 key words are, what does these thoughts or beliefs love me? Do these thoughts or beliefs serve me. Kim has a very good point. Sometimes we get stuck in bad stuff. It's easier to believe. And I'm not a psychologist. I do know one. I will be Alan Simberg. And why is it that our minds tend to believe what's bad about us? Why is it easier to believe you're worthless, you're burdened? Why is it easy to believe that me telling you you're amazing, you have purpose in this life? Why is it so hard to believe the truth? Kim, thank you for bringing that. I really don't know. I'm gonna be connecting to my psychologist, Alan Simberg, and ask him why is it easier to believe a negative than a positive. So let's start today examining your beliefs. Let's start today running every thought we have today through those filters. Does it love me? Does it serve me? Does the belief own me, or do I own the belief? Does the thought love me? Does it serve me? Here we are out of time, but I just want to say, people, the use of mindset, the use of the word mindset. When Mitch was trying to say, you got to say flexible. You don't want to have set mind. But I will say mindset in the context that we use as stroke survivors, as my lead coach, Melissa Troop, uses in a sentence. Mindset is everything, meaning that you can look at the glass half empty or half full. I'm telling you, stroke survivor, your life is half full. Stroke is what happened to you and doesn't define who you are. How you respond to your stroke does. Let me repeat that in closing. Stroke does not define who you are. How you respond to your stroke does. I want to thank everybody for being out there. Boy, the time has flown by. It's amazing. Remember, we meet every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Stroke TV Media YouTube. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. So later on, I can get quality guests, raise stroke awareness, and really make an impact for stroke out there in this world. Realize there's over 80 million stroke survivors in this world. We're on a journey together. We are a community. So today, start examining those thoughts. Run through the filters. Start examining your beliefs. You'll be surprised that there's many beliefs you hold true that aren't true, that do not serve you, that end up owning you, beating you down. You don't need that in your life. You're not meant to carry that burden. So today, I encourage you. Does it serve you? Does it love you? Does it make you feel loved? Does it make it serve you? Does it make you feel like you're worth something? So I want to thank y'all for being. I'll try to get Mitch on here so that I can ask you guys to meet him. I did a show before with him, and on the same topic, I'm going to put a link in the description of the video. But thank you, everybody. We're out of time. This is part one. I think there's going to be 3 parts of this series. The power of your mind. You are the one. Remember, it's your response to stroke that defines who you are, not the stroke itself. So I love you guys. Everybody have a great day. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Stroke TV and Media YouTube channel. Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I've got a real special guest for you today. He's known as Boyd the Broker. He's in Southern Cal, a very successful real estate agent, and not just that. He survived a stroke, has went from stroke survivor to stroke thriver. So I want to kind of break this podcast into two sections. I want to know about his stroke story, but I also want to know the transformation that brought him from stroke survivor to stroke thriver. So let's get into it. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Alba. 13 years ago, I suffered a brain aneurysm and a stroke. My mission of this podcast is to provide you with the support, valuable insights, and inspiration and help you need to rebuild your life after stroke. So without further ado, here's your host, Aaron Avalon. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Boyd. How
Good
you
morning.
doing, bro?
I'm
Great.
doing great. How are you, Aaron?
Really good, bro. We're doing really good. So great to have you on my podcast. I really appreciate being here.
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. We only have 30 minutes together, so I'm just jump right into it because
Good.
you inspired me, brother. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you why in after, because I want to hear about your stroke itself, the story, and then I want to, because you're different. You're one of me. You're one of us that's gone from stroke survivor to stroke thriver.
Hmm.
We're different. So, did you know when was your stroke?
So I'm pushing actually my 2-year anniversary in a couple of weeks here. It was December 6th. I think all of us know the date, right? That's the thing. It's emblazoned in your head. December 6th, 2021.
Oh man, okay, well that's great. Well, happy stroke anniversary coming up. So anyway,
There's certain things you celebrate. I'm not sure if it's funny you bring that up. I don't know if we're supposed to celebrate our anniversary of when we had the survivor, or if we're supposed to, make note of it or be scared of it or whatnot. So I'm going to be learning from you on that. I'll take a cue from you.
well, let me tell you what my family does. That's done for me for 13 years. We got a little slack on it, but mine was September 17th. I didn't call it anniversary, I call it a celebration of life.
Cool.
My film cake, ice cream, no presents. Cake, ice cream, little champagne. We have a great party, and we call it a celebration of life. The day I went, I should have died like you. I should have died, so I call it a celebration of life every day, every September 17th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So, but I want to, but I'm going to pause for a minute. Hold on. I'm going to pause. Like, this is Sherry Patterson, Niagara Falls, is saying hello to you.
Hey, Sherry, how are you?
And we don't know who this is because they said love it. We don't know who this is. I have no clue. But I wanted to ask you a question, Boyd.
Okay.
Did you know what a stroke was before you had one? Did you?
No, I had no experience in my family. I didn't know anybody that had a stroke. I really knew nothing about it. The only thing that maybe I knew about it was things you see in the movies. It was serious. It was life threatening. But I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about stroke or the history of strokes.
So did you have any warning signs that you look back on now and say headaches or dizziness or numbness or anything? Did you have any warning signs?
Nothing. I mean, my story might be a little different, or maybe it's common, but it was 3 days before that, on December 3rd, they put a stent in my heart. I had 90% blockage, so there was something going on. And they jacked me up full of blood thinners and everything, and gave me new plumbing, as I call it. And then it was 3 days later that I had the hemorrhagic stroke, a brain bleed. And it's weird because the cardiologist and the neurologist sort of disagree on what caused it, because it was a brain bleed. I guess they weren't able to sort of examine it. The neurologist swears that it was the blood thinner that might have done something. The neurologist says, well, there's no way to tell, and it could have been just lying dormant there and happened for a while. And so I'm in a bit of denial. I don't really want to know. That's part of my recovery, is actually put my head down and go forward. And I kind of don't want to know the particulars about it. The general things are good, but I haven't Googled it. I haven't done all that stuff, and I'm just moving forward.
Yeah, and that's part of what I'm going to get to, because that attitude right there, that attitude makes all the difference in my book. But okay. So what were you doing when you had your stroke? What were you doing?
Oh, okay. It's when we get emotional, right? So, that Monday morning, I took my son to school. He was a freshman in high school. Okay, so 15 years old, 8 o'clock in the morning. I drop him off, and there's a story with this. You never know. There's always this thing. You never know what's going to happen that day, tomorrow. That today can be your last, and love the ones that you're with, and all that sort of stuff. I dropped him off at 8 o'clock. I was probably in a hurry. I probably didn't say I loved you. I probably didn't say anything. I just dropped him off at school, and I was might have been on the phone. I don't quite remember, but I'm like, okay, bye. And then I left. I came home, and maybe 9 o'clock, 9:20, I started to get this really bad pain in the back of my neck, like somebody was putting a knife in there. It was just that bad. And I thought, geez, something's going on. So I called the cardiologist, because 3 days before that, I had just had the stent put in, right? And he's all, geez, you better, get in your car and come visit, come see me. And I thought, oh, okay, well, doesn't think it's that serious, and maybe it's okay. I ended up calling my wife, which is weird because she's at school, and I know that she can't answer the phone during school. One of a billion reasons. It was in between classes. She answers the phone, and I said, her name's Siamata. I said, Siamata, it's really hurting me, and I don't know what to do. She said, call 911. So I called 911, and then I called back the doctor again, and then everything just kind of went weird after that. I had enough thought of my dog's a runner. We rescued him in Hawaii, and he's a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and I had enough thought thinking that, geez, the firemen or the paramedics are going to come, blast open the door, and come. They're going to want to save me. My dog's going to be gone, and that freaked me out. And so I was like, okay, how do I avoid this happening? So I literally went outside, closed the door to save my dog. And I walked maybe 15 yards from my door to the front of the garage. And things are just getting completely all loopy and wacky and everything. And I remember, I think I might have heard sirens. I'm not sure. And I think there was like a shadow of somebody coming to me. But I remember saying, I'm going down. I'm going down. And I think I heard somebody say, we got you, we got you. And then it was done. I was unresponsive, back of the ambulance, ventilator. My heart was doing the AFib or DFib or whatever the hell it's called. And I was I was done. You know, it was full blown brain bleed, stroke, and the rest is history. I think they called my wife and got to see me. I don't know when I woke up or what happened, but the rest is history.
Wow, yeah, that's sweet numbers now. With my stroke and many, I interview many stroke survivors, and normally they shake it off and they can't believe something's medically wrong with them, serious wrong. They're not a stroke, so they get that twinge in the neck and oh, I must have tried. They blow it off. They don't really respond to it. But I'm curious, you're a broker, correct? You're a broker.
Yeah.
Now you still are a top level broker. I mean, you're one of the premier brokers in Southern California, correct?
Well, ironically, you know, that the story gets so much deeper, right? So I was, and I retired early. I retired when I was 42. So I had a very big real estate career, very successful, very fortunate. But I wanted to raise my son perhaps in a different environment. We moved to Hawaii. And it was type A personality. And there's something, again, this is all brain related, you know, it's all connected in some odd circle. But I just wasn't fulfilling myself, fulfilling my head, fulfilling my future, the opportunities that I had. We came back, and ironically, I was probably not even going to go back into residential real estate. I'd done very well. I'd used my real estate sort of education to build houses at the end of my career. That's where the true money was. But I had learned everything by representing other people in the sale and purchase of their homes. So I thought I was going to get back into development. But when I came back to California, to Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, COVID hit. And so like everybody else, I'm like, well, geez, the world's under pandemic. I'm not going to be building a house or doing this or spending money. Let's see how this happens, see what works out. Well, who would have thought things actually went up? And then I sort of missed the ball. And I'm like, oh, well, geez, I'm a year or two into this. And it's like, I haven't really done anything. And I really wasn't thinking even of returning to real estate at that point. But then, I mean, again, the world has these plans for us and we have nothing to do with it. We just go on the path. I had the stroke. And when I came back from the stroke, the humility that I've gone through, that everybody else as stroke survivors, you know, I was 37 days in the hospital. I was discharged on a stroller. I live in the beach cities, and I remember my mother having the stroller before she passed. And I had these odd thoughts, you know, when the rehab ladies would come and help me out. I was they call it the Strand here. I was on the Strand in my stroller, and I had a catheter hooked up to me and everything because I couldn't go to the bathroom. And it was, you have this level of humility that you just can't describe. And something happened during my rehab process where everything, all the walls, all my egotistical, whatever, why I wasn't getting back into real estate were all gone. And all the old passion and the old desires came back. And since then, it's come back. Now it's crazy. I opened up my own brokerage last week. I got featured in a couple national articles about my brokerage and about me giving back to the stroke community and things. It's just turning into something that I would have never imagined, but I love it. Like, I just love what's going on. You know, I wish I didn't get my ass kicked like I did. And then all of us that had a stroke at varying degrees, you know, we're lying on the ground, and it's like, my dad told me before he died, there was an analogy he told me, you know, he's like, stay down, you take your licks, and then when you're ready to get up, you get up and you don't go back down. And that's pretty much the same thing that I had here. And I've got people watching me. I've got my wife watching me, my 16-year-old son now watching me. And now I'm talking to other people that have had strokes. There's other people watching me. There's the real estate community watching me. I love it. Like, I was embarrassed before. Now I love it. Like, watch me all you want. I feel good. I want to help others. I want other people are helping me. That by sharing the story, just talking to you, Aaron, it's like you said, my gosh, you're telling me that I'm inspiring you. That type of pressure is so positive for me that I love it. I love it.
Boy, you know, talking to you, bro, it's like the energy. I believe life is all about energy, and it's what we are. We're energy beings. And sit there and you watch. I told you earlier in the agreement, you you can find your purpose in your storm, and you and I both have. It's a purpose. We have our life's purpose changed. You were a big part. Those that don't. You were a big surfer, big real estate person. You did it all, but your purpose really was brought about by a stroke, and your purpose is helping stroke survivors around the world. And I respect that. And I know how that feels. It's sorry. It's awesome. The energy is awesome.
You know what? I've said this before. It's not like I was a bad person before the stroke, but the stroke changes you, and it just changes you, and you might as well change for the better, right? Why can't I? The example that I am to my son now. I mean, it was one thing to be retiring at 42 and going to living in Maui and being in my shorts and t-shirt all the time and telling my son I was somebody, and it doesn't mean anything. Now he gets to see his dad on the ground get up and bigger and stronger now. My gosh, like everything's worth it. Everything I've gone through, the hospital, the rehab, the struggle, the people looking at me or judging me, it's all worth it, because the example that I'm setting starts with my son, goes through my wife, extends to my family, and now my extended family of people that have had brain injuries and are coming back from a stroke is awesome, because there's a facility here in Los Angeles called Next Step LA that I go every week, that I was introduced to by the lady that was helping me with my eyes after I got my DMV license back. As I'm sure other stroke people will all admit, our eyes get a little bit odd, and it's this neurological thing that we have. This lady put me in touch with these people that are returning from brain injuries and spinal cord injuries. This gentleman, Yanni Curry, he's a local guy here in Manhattan Beach, and he broke his neck jumping into the ocean here locally 15 years ago, and he didn't have the facilities around here to help him, and he created it. Look at his path, Aaron, right? It's like we don't know our paths until something happens, and then it goes. It's like a Y in the road. Stay on that path, figure it out, put your head down, and that's the path. You didn't choose it, it was chosen for you, but you can choose where that path goes. And so I follow this guy, and it's awesome. I go every week, and I felt really weird. I walked into this facility the first time, and I'm I got gel in my hair. I'm looking kind of funny, and I'm, all dressed up, all nice and everything. And everybody's like, hey, are you selling insurance? Or are you selling? They were kind of like, get out of here, right? We're trying to rebuild our lives. We're doing the rehab in here. We don't want to buy whatever you're selling. But then I started walking around. And I've got this underneath this beautiful set of hair. I've got this shunt in my head. All of us stroke people, most of us have these. I got this shunt in my head that's 2 inches like a Frankenstein. It's like a C battery in my head. Like my membership card, right, Aaron? So I walk around the facility now, and I go, hey, buddy, touch this thing, right? And, it's sticking out like a battery, right? And they look at me. That is the coolest look in the history of the universe, because they look at me and go, oh my God, you're one of us, and you're looking like this, and you're talking like this, and you're walking around with this swag. I want that. Well, I want to give it to them. So now I walk around. Now I'm credible, right? Now I'm walking around, and they're like, wow, whatever he's selling, now I'm buying. And then I transfer that into now real estate and relationships and everything. It doesn't matter. The people that I'm meeting, if they want me to represent them and I'm selling their house, great. If they don't, if I can talk to his neighbor about his wife that had a stroke and is struggling to return to work, at CVS or as anything at Starbucks, it doesn't matter. We're all just people coming back from getting our ass kicked, and we've had enough, and we're going forward. And that's the scary part of it, is that my reach is huge. Like it's huge. It's relationship, and it's genuine, and you can't mess with me. I've been humbled down to my knees. You can't screw with me. You can't mess with me. Whatever you tell me doesn't matter. My wife loves me, my son loves me, and my family loves me. period. And that's it. And they came to my, that's another thing, you know, they came, all of us, you know, when we have our stroke or something happens, you find out, you know, your support system and what goes on. Holy cow, my wife, I married up. She, you know, stopped. She was my caregiver for 6 months, and she saved my life, period. And we always hope that something's going to happen, that the people around you, when, you know, when the SHIT hits the fan, that you have people around you, always hope that they're going to come, but you don't get a trial run. Well, I had a trial run. And so I saw who came to my rescue. My nephews, holy cow, unbelievable. My family just, that started the humbling. And it's carried into something that is so awesome. And why can't I give this to other people? There's so much, there's like awesomeness just coming out of my pores. And it wasn't there before. Like, again, I wasn't a bad person before, but I didn't necessarily give back. I didn't necessarily give to charity and all this stuff. Now it's like 10% of my commissions I'm giving to other stroke people to come back to work, whatever work that is. And it's awesome. Like, it's beautiful. I want to give back. Before, you know, a lot of people, they give back or they do this to look good or get on whatever. I love it. It makes me feel good. Hey, when we had a stroke, right, Aaron, it's like we got our ass kicked. We want to feel good. Like, we want to restore some of that energy because we got our ass kicked. All that energy was taken from us. Everything was taken from us. You can't go to the bathroom on your own. You can't move on your own. You can't think on your own. It was all gone. It was taken from us. And we didn't choose that. And that pisses me off. And that's what I want to give back to other people, is that, geez, if I can replenish that energy that was taken from me, why not? And everything's going to be good from it. Business, no business, it doesn't matter. It's all just this energy that I have, and my son sees and my wife sees. It's awesome.
Your energy, bro, is so contagious. I wasn't, you know,
I don't know where it came from. Remember, I didn't tell anybody. I was so embarrassed. Like other people, when you've had a stroke and you're so humbled, you're so embarrassed that people judging you and whatever's going to happen. You just want what you used to have. But maybe what you used to have, you didn't appreciate it back then, right? Just the simple things. You didn't appreciate it. But now you do. Now it's like the simple things mean something, because they do. Me dropping off my son at 8 o'clock. Okay, bye. Okay, but shut the door. Bye.
Right.
Nothing, right? An hour and a half later, I'm in the back of an ambulance, non-responsive, with a ventilator, and my heart going AFib. You don't know. And if that's important to you, then treat that's important to you, because you don't know what's going to happen in an hour and a half. You can get run over you can get hit by a car, you can have this stroke, you can have a brain injury, all these things. It's real. That stuff happens. I am testament to that. It happens.
Yeah, you know, that is so true. I mean, what I find in your story, you said something that just is stuck in my heart, and I can't let it go because I'm doing it. You said you let your family, your son, become your motivation for getting better, from going from stroke survivor to stroke thriver. And you said, wake up each morning with them in your mind, your motivation to get better. I do believe in recovery. I believe in rebuilding your life at stroke. I think you and I and all stroke survivors have to put in the work it takes to rebuild our lives. But you use your family, your motivation to get better, correct?
Yeah, but you know what? You nailed something as a stroke survivor yourself, is that you got to put in the work. And that's the difference. Like, it doesn't just happen. This energy and this craziness that I have, it didn't even happen. I didn't tell anybody that for over a year that I had a stroke because of my embarrassment. Now I'm like everybody, I'm okay with it because I have the confidence. I put in the work to get to here. And there was a gentleman that there was a client of mine 3 weeks after I came back and I was back into real estate. There was a client of mine that I had sold his house 20 years ago. And I went to go see him, and he was telling me that he just had a stroke. And I wouldn't even tell him that I had one because I was embarrassed. I felt, oh my gosh, I'm looking kind of decent. I'm walking kind of decent. He was talking funny. He was walking funny. He was really struggling. And the thing about it was that, you know, and I said, geez, what's going on with your rehab? Like, what's going on in the back of my mind? I'm like trying to help him or trying to figure out. He's like, well, I do rehab once a week. Right off the bat, I know it was like, okay, there's the difference, whether it's insurance, whether whatever it was, he wasn't putting in the time to get it back because there's nothing special about me. My story might be special, but there is nothing special about me. I was just pissed off and I did it. I did 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for 3 months, period. And if I didn't do that, there's no way I would have this energy and I have this clarity. But I put in the work. And everybody coming back from any brain injury, any stroke, anything, you got to put into work. Whatever it is, you break your ankle, it's not going to heal on its own. And it might take some people 4 or 5 years before they're done. Why wait that 4 or 5 years? Do it right away. Go back, just put in the work. And there's rewards at the end of the tunnel. That's the thing. People are watching you. And so when you do recover, like I've done, now people are heralding me and saying how great I've done and everything. It feels good now, but they didn't see me when I was on my knees and had all the problems. Nobody sees you, and that's when you find out your character. But that's when you get up, you push, you push, you push, and this is where you go. And if I can get that to other people, brain injury, stroke, whatever it is, there's so many things that this philosophy applies to. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know what, Boyd, my biggest thing in creating stroke TV media was that people, what I found out there, the majority of stroke community says they're going to recover. They place a value on what they can do now after a stroke, what they used to do. And I don't believe it. I believe that rebuilding your life is, like you say, you have to work, you have to rebuild your life to stroke. And you can't let stroke define you. It really
But it
cannot.
can be better, you know. That's the thing, Aaron. It can be better. Like it may not even look like it when you're doing it. It doesn't feel like it when you're rebuilding it. But when you get to the other side and you look back, you're like, you know, I kind of like this view. This is actually a little better.
Yeah.
And that's the craziness. How can, especially if somebody just had a stroke and they're like, oh my gosh, how can this guy be saying that things could be better? I feel terrible. I can't remember my own name half the time. The days of the week are difficult. It gets better. And then once you reach a certain threshold, it's awesome to look back and go, I kind of like where I'm at. I wish I didn't need to go through what I went through, but because I went through it, I like where I'm at. That's a possibility that is as real as you can get.
I just love your energy, bro. I think it's amazing. And I think you define stroke. Stroke doesn't define us. You define stroke. So many people, again, I've been serving the stroke community for almost 9 years now. There's so many stroke survivors have their stroke, curl up in the ball and waiting to die. They absolutely have nothing, no purpose in life, no energy in life. And I think it really comes down to doing the work, put in the work, rebuild your life. It is possible, but most stroke survivors, like you just mentioned, your friend, I get a rehab therapy once a week. Well, that's not enough. It's not, right? It's not enough. You get to work to recover. You're rebuilding your life every day, pretty much.
See, and you know what? And it brings up another thing. I had my wife that helped me. And everybody's going to have different situations, right? There's different severities of the stroke. There's different recovery levels. But whatever it is, the same thing applies, Aaron, is the head down and moving forward. Your feet need to be moving all the time, period. Bad days, good days, they're always moving. Some of us have support systems. Some of us don't. Some of us have insurance. Some of us don't. But we all have our feet and we all can put our head down and we can all move forward. And the irony is that it's a brain injury and it's the brain that can save us, period. That's the craziness of it. It's the brain, and we all have it. You can use it, and it doesn't feel like it works. The first 6 months, the first year, you're like, oh my God, I can't remember anything, and I just wish I was the way I was. Well, maybe you weren't that happy the way you were before anyway. If you really look back on it, there was a bunch of stuff that used to upset you and you didn't enjoy it anyway. How about we fix it, retrain the brain, and move forward on a better path? That's where I'm at. And if I can help some people with that, awesome. Like, I'm into it.
Well, I just, like you said, your energy is amazing, bro. I really, really appreciate it. I told you 30 minutes to get like by quick. And here we are at the end of the show. We're on but, boy, if anybody out there wants to get a hold of you, wants to talk to you, can they get a hold of you on Facebook? What's the best way?
Broker on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. You connect with me, and I do all these videos on my Instagram, Boyd the Broker. It's pretty cool. And it's not just real estate, it's family, it's life. And I've started to do these. That's how I really came out and introduced myself as a stroke survivor, was through Instagram and through some videos. So some other people that have had a brain injury or something, you can go back in my videos, you can see them. They're pretty interesting. You might identify with something. Send me a message. We'll talk. We'll figure something out. It's pretty cool. I'll give you some ideas and see what happens.
Boyd, I cannot thank you enough, brother, for being here.
For having me.
Thank you for being on the show and being on the podcast. And I want you to realize, Stroke Survivor, the altitude. Do you notice the altitude? Which Stroke TV media believes before therapy, before anything, your mind shift has to occur. The foundation. You have to say to yourself, I'm worth it. I can live again. I can build my life better. And boy, that's so true with your life. I really appreciate you sharing your story. And I hope you can come on the podcast again, because so many people need to hear this message of hope. Thank you so much. We're out of time. I appreciate you being here. Is there any final word? Let me ask one thing. We're a little over time. What advice would you give a new stroke survivor out there who's floundering, who's wondering what his life is at? Maybe he just had a stroke. Maybe he had a stroke years ago.
There's hope.
Is there any advice that you give them?
It's as simple. There's hope. I mean, there's always hope, and there's different reasons. We all recover for different reasons and at different levels, but we all share one thing, and that's hope. Without hope, it's kind of tough, right? With hope, go to the moon.
Yeah, I haven't walked for 13 years, but I will walk again someday. In fact, a lot of people believe I'm from Texas because of cowboy hat, but I'll tell you the truth behind the cowboy hat. I dream of riding a horse someday. And it reminds me of me riding a horse someday. So there's the hope.
There you go.
The hat is hope.
We all have it. I'll wear a hat next time. Have me on next time. I'll put on a cowboy hat. We'll be good.
That's great. Well, boy, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Have a great day, bro.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, bye. Welcome to Stroke of Genius podcast, Executive Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Avila. I've got a real special guest for you today. His name is Alan Sinberg, and he is a credentialed and certified goodness, and I just forgot. Sorry, I'm a stroke survivor. But let's bring Alan on the line. Good morning, Alan.
Hello, Aaron. How are you doing?
Really good. Please introduce yourself because my short brain drew a blank. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Well, as I introduce myself, I want to thank you for having me as a guest on your show. As you mentioned, my name is Alan Simberg. I have a PhD in counseling psychology. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, licensed chemical dependency counselor, and I have certification in applied clinical nutrition.
Yeah, anybody that knows someone's doing research on Alan. He has so many little letters after his name. That's why I told him this morning, please introduce yourself. He got PhD. He got so many abbreviations behind his name. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So, but you're in the business of helping people.
Yes, that's my main purpose, to help people.
I do the same thing, but I'm not credentialed. But I am a certified stroke survivor. Let's give a shout out, can we, real quick to the people in the audience now. Hold on. We've got Sherry Patterson. She's in Niagara Falls. We got Jeremy. We get Jamie Parrish. He's in the United Kingdom. And I guess they're on two right now, so they go a little late. But anyway, and I want to encourage you guys. Feel free if you have a question for Alan to please ask. We're here to help. Bottom line. So Alan, we only got 30 minutes together, so let's jump right into it. I'm gonna get right into it. The questions that kind of what I asked in the agreement. I want you to answer the first question. How did you ever get into what you're doing right now?
Well, actually, it was kind of an interesting way that this happened. When I was about 7 or 8 years of age, I was on a piano bench in my parents' home, and I heard them speaking, and I heard my father say to my mother, one of our relatives was coming to visit. And my mother said, well, what's the reason that person's coming? And my father said, well, she has a problem, and I want to see if I can help her. When I heard him say that, I immediately thought to myself, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be able to help people. And at that point in my life, I was coming home for lunch sometimes from school. And there was a TV show that I used to watch. And it was a show about a therapist. And it would show him talking to people that had different problems. And he would be asking questions and finding what he could do to help them. And I remember thinking when I watched that show, how does that person know what questions to ask? I want to learn how to do that. So those were the two experiences that really solidified my making the decision that I wanted to help people. Of course, at that age, I had no idea specifically what I wanted to do, but I knew at that moment that I wanted to help people.
I think, Alan, there's no greater thing in life. I'm learning. I'm learning now. A life of being a servant, help people. There's no better. Has you found that to be extremely rewarding to help people?
Yes, because one of the things about that helps it to be rewarding for me is to first see, when I initially talk to people, what they're going through, and to see the emotion that they're experiencing, and to see them be able to manage their emotions and use strategies to make their lives better. That, to me, there's no greater gift other than maybe health.
Alan, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Sorry, we're having a little dog here. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Continue, please.
Well, that was basically about what I was going to say, that helping people is so rewarding to me because, as you know, we all have our struggles. So one of the things that I became aware of was how grateful I could have been every time, or how grateful I actually was whenever I was having a struggle in my life and I got the help that I needed, and how much better my life became as a result. And being able to provide that to other people is very satisfying to me.
I can see that because in my two-stroke community, I really want to encourage it. I see there's a few stroke survivors out there in the audience. I want you to reach out to Alan, and he's here to help you, stroke survivors and community members. So please feel free. And at the end of the show, we'll tell you how to get a hold of him. But Alan, I'm curious. Let me see what's up. Of course, I do have one other question. I have a couple more questions for you, if I can ask it. How did you? So, how you? If you ever thought about retiring, you've been doing this, I learned for over 50 years in the green room. Have you ever thought about retiring?
Well, actually, I never have thought about retiring in any serious way. And it's kind of interesting that you asked me that question because several years ago, it was probably at least 10 years ago, if not longer, my son basically asked me the same question. And the way he asked the question was he said, Dad, how can you keep doing what you're doing? You know, are you going to stop at some point? And I said, gee, I'll answer your question, but what's the reason that you asked me that? And he said, well, my understanding is that people that do what you do get burnt out and they just can't tolerate going on doing what you're doing, especially as long as you've been doing it. And I said, well, Matt, that's my son's name, Matthew. I said, the reason I've never thought about retiring is because I get such fulfillment and such joy from helping people. I don't consider it work.
Wow.
I consider it being a service, and the fulfillment that I experience doing it. Why would I want to stop receiving that?
Wow, that you and I were talking. I'm learning that because I am learning that being a servant to people. I've been watching this guy named Steve, and he has a podcast called Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. And I realize, Alan, that being a servant to other people is, like you just said, is so filling, it's so fills you full of joy you don't want to stop. I can see I'll not stop until the day I drop. I'm sorry, I love what I do. I love what I do.
Yes.
But I do have a more serious question. What do you think contributes to people becoming, because you're specialists in addiction and stuff, what contributes to people developing a substance abuse or disorder?
Well, actually, there are two things that kind of go along with each other, two basic things. One is a person may have a predisposition to becoming addicted. The other is based on a person's life experiences, sometimes they don't know how to manage them and they resort to either alcohol or drugs to be able to manage the emotion that they're going through, not knowing how to handle the challenge. So then not only do they have the challenges that are unresolved, but they have the added challenge of getting past all the effects that the addiction is causing to them?
I think probably the inability of how to cope. I mean, so many times in life, and I'm going to pause. I mean, there's quite a few stroke survivors out there, and there's not much stroke survivor show. But I want to say thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being out there. And Alan, how do people? I mean, the biggest thing is coping. How do we cope? How do people get in touch you to? What is the best way? I'm going to pull up your website. I'm going to pull up your website. Here's, if for anybody that wants to get out, here's the website. That website, I'm going to tell you, what Alan is doing, he's here to help you, community. Whether you're a CEO, having a cocaine issue, I'd imagine that could be very common in the upper parts of business. Are you feeling about marital problems or any emotional issues? Get out Alan. Visit him on the website. He's also written a book. Scan the QR code there to order the book on Amazon. Right there's the book, Back to Living. I mean, I in my younger days, Alan, I started with some addictions. In fact, I was a smoker. I was a smoker before my stroke. I smoked cigarettes. And that addiction, do you know, I was in a coma, and they could not wake me up from the coma. And they asked my wife, did your husband smoke or do any type of drugs or anything? Because now waking up from the coma. Well, she said he smoked a pack and a half a day of cigarettes. Do you know they went there and got the patch? Put on me. I woke put about the nicotine patch on my skin. I woke up 3 minutes later from the coma. So, but when you talk about disposition to addiction, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Well, essentially, what that part means is that people in the family, their genes predispose them to the possibility of them being addicted. So, one misconception that people sometimes have is that your genes are your destiny. And that's not true. Just because you may have that genetic predisposition doesn't mean it has to happen.
And that is why you're calling it a disposition.
Yes.
Because so many of I want people to understand that because to me it's kind of good. Just because your father was an alcoholic, but just because your mother was an alcoholic, you may have the disposition of being an alcoholic, but you actually have the power saying, no, I'm not going to be an alcoholic. And, Alan and I didn't talk about this, but you've got a tremendous power in your mind. Your free will is your power. And Alan, you extract what people are going through. You actually take to during your session with people. Do you actually take on that emotion of that person?
Well, I would say, in a sense, it's not exactly that I take it on, but I feel it.
Yeah.
Like if someone's sad, I can feel the sadness. And sometimes it does trigger me to feel sad. But what I'm recognizing is number one, part of that feeling is compassion and empathy. And part of it is feeling, literally feeling, in a sense, sadness, not necessarily exactly what they're feeling, because I can't know what they're feeling, but I have certainly a very reasonable idea of what it means to feel sad and how it feels. And I also have been able in my life, which I'm very grateful for this, is I don't allow that to interfere with my ability to continue to talk with them without allowing that emotion to overpower me. And in fact, it motivates me to be super focused so that I can be the most help possible at that moment.
Yeah, because the chat right now, I just brought the chat up on screen. I wish you could see the comments that were coming up because they're really enjoying this topic. I think probably the hardest thing, as you know, I'm a stroke survivor. Suicide is so common, but in this day and age, this political world, this world in turmoil, suicide is becoming quite prevalent. So, what is your suggestion to deal with those emotions of suicide?
Well, I think the first thing in general to recognize is that when a person actually gets to the point of either seriously considering committing suicide or actually takes the steps to commit suicide, they're at a point in their life where they're feeling helpless and hopeless. So, one of my strongest recommendations to anyone who's thinking about committing suicide is don't hesitate to ask for help, because the longer that thought and that feeling exists, the greater the possibility that the person may actually attempt suicide.
Yeah, I'm going to say something, maybe very transparent. When I was younger, I contemplated suicide. I actually contemplated it very seriously several times when I was younger. And you were, I don't know, are you a spiritual man?
Say it again.
Do you believe in God or?
Oh, well, number one, I respect whatever anyone does believe. So I don't want anyone to take offense at what I'm going to say or to take what I'm saying as intending to be a contradiction to any of your beliefs. I believe in a greater power. I believe in a creative energy. And because I trained and studied under a spiritual master, well, this is not the only reason I think the way I do, but being in that training allowed me to see a different way about life, which helped me when I had certain challenges that I had to go through. It helped me to go through them easier than I would have if I did not have an organized religion to believe in, or a so-called God, or a so-called higher power or creative energy. Because one of the things that I believe is that it's helpful and it's important to believe that there's something greater than us. Because the way I look at it, if there's no belief in anything that's greater than us, it's not unusual to think, well, what's the point of all this? Why even live? It helps us to have a purpose, and it helps us to identify our purpose and to live that purpose.
It's funny. But you can see why I put the chat up on the screen to going crazy. But Kim is a wife of a survivor. Her husband had a very massive stroke and has aphasia and says he wants to die almost deadly. And so Kim, those feelings are normal. She's going through just 5 stages of grief or something. When you have a stroke, you go through the grieving process because who you were dies. and it gets better as you go longer in the stroke survival mode. So I went through the 5 stages. I was suicidal when I first had my stroke. I was suicidal, and then I went through sadness, the grief. I went through the 5 stages of grief. And so maybe you come back on, we can talk all about that because we're almost at the time. But it's very in the stroke community. There's a lot of contemplating a suicide by the stroke survivor. You and I can help them. So now, how do I? Like I said, I want to stick on this comment on this topic just a little bit. So, what happens? How do you bring some from suicidal thoughts into hope?
Well, I think it would be helpful to answer your question from within the context of, let's say, someone having experienced a stroke and considering committing suicide. One of the things that I think can be quite helpful for people when they're at that point, and this is true about being at any point where you're feeling that you're experiencing a challenge that maybe you just can't get past, instead of thinking or asking yourself, why did this happen to me? Think, what can I learn from this?
Oh, I love that quote. I live by that. Repeat that, please, Alan.
Sure. So instead of thinking, why did this happen to me? It's much more useful and helpful to think, what can I learn from this? And I'll add something to that. Not only what can I learn from this, but what can I do despite the fact that it happened? How can I have the best life possible?
All right, people, did you just hear that? Okay, when you have those feelings, as how can I learn from this? Not why me. Don't ask why me, but ask what can I learn from this? And take more of a positive approach. And this will alter your destiny. It really will have a great impact. I've just taught I'm Alan, and I'm gonna repeat a spiritual mentor I had. Told me, he said, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I'm telling for any CEO, entrepreneur, stroke survivor out there, if you focus on the problem, your energy will go there, and not negative. So the answer is don't quit. I mean, I hate to say it sounds simple. Don't just stop focusing on be grateful. Switch it to gratefulness, right? All gratefulness is so good for the soul.
Can I answer one of the questions that was just
Please,
asked?
please,
Okay,
please.
okay. So the question from Karen is, but at what point can we say that I haven't learned anything? So my answer to that question is the point at which you can say that or ask that is when you're aware enough to think it, to say it. And sometimes the initial answer can be very simple. The initial answer can be from the question, what can I learn from this? Maybe one of the things I can learn is how to manage this and not let it run my life. And that could lead to you having even more answers about what you can learn. Because one of the things that I firmly believe, not only from my life, but from all the people's lives that I've ever talked to, is that there's always something to learn from any experience we have. When we think to ourselves, why did this happen to me? In a certain sense, we're putting ourselves in the victim mode. When we think, what can I learn from this? The implication of that question is, what can I do to manage this situation as effectively as possible and have the best life possible? That's the question to answer and to stay focused on as consistently as possible. And you have to have the best outcome possible when you do that. It may not be the best outcome that could ever be, but it's the best outcome considering the circumstances that you're currently dealing with. And there's an expression that's, I think, can be very helpful to keep in mind. You can have circumstances, but you don't have to let your circumstances have you.
You know, Alan, it's funny because there's something I'm always repeating in my community, and that is stroke does not define you, but how you respond does. And you know, for the entrepreneur and the businessman that's out there, this is true for any circumstance you face. You could either face it, you could either run from it or learn from it. Take your pick. And if Alan is giving a tidbit there, and I don't know if Betty caught it, but it's your choice. You actually have a choice not to be a victim and to learn from it. You choose to do that, right, Alan?
Yes. Yes. And another way of saying what you just said in terms of choosing, our thinking also contributes to how we feel. So if we consider ourselves to be a victim, we're going to feel like a victim and we could get into that pattern. But if we refuse to accept ourselves, something happened to us doesn't mean that we're a victim. All it means is something happened. And as you said, Aaron, do I manage it or do I let it run me? That's the decision. And I know it's not easy. I don't mean to imply at all that it's easy. But when you meaning anyone, when you focus on, okay, what do I do? One step at a time, one day at a time, and give yourself credit for everything that you do, everything that you accomplish, you're actually developing a pattern that can help to prevent you from feeling and thinking about yourself as being a victim and can allow you to have the best life possible, regardless of the circumstances that you're managing.
Wow, powerful. That was powerful. Thank you very much. You know, so many times I've been serving the stroke community now for about 9 years. And so many get stuck. They have a stroke, they get stuck in the stroke. They don't ever arise. They get dark, they get negative, but what if I understood you correctly, it's how their thinking is doing it. Their thinking is doing it.
Yeah.
And that goes in line with where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And I'm a big follower of Steve Harvey, and he's a motivational speaker. But you know, gratefulness. Gratefulness is key to stroke survival. Key for anybody out there to business going through a tremendous, stressful, hard time. I would say, what your mindset is dictates what your outcome will be.
Yes.
I can't say now. I can't thank you enough for being here. We're at the end of the show, but would you tell us your email, please? If people want to email you and talk to you, what did they do? What's your email?
Well, my email address is Alan, it's ALAN, at Alan Simberg, it's SIMBERG.com.
Okay, that's great. So I want to encourage anybody out there. If you need help, I would suggest get hold of Alan. He's doing 50 years and he still doesn't want to go or doesn't want to retire because he loves it. I guarantee you, you want a therapist or you want what's psychiatrist? What do they call you? A therapist? What do you call yourself?
A therapist,
You
or
want a therapist with a heart. And I guarantee you, if someone that's doing this 50 years a heart and a passion and a love to help people, get a hold of Alan. I'm gonna let me pick up a book one per time because I think it's important that people. This can apply not only this special, it applies to many other people, not just addiction. Correct?
and the other thing I also want to mention is that if anyone is interested in becoming a client, I'm only meeting with people virtually, and the people that I'm speaking with have to be living either in Texas or New Jersey because I have to speak with people in states where I'm licensed. But if someone has a question, I can answer a question.
All
That's
right,
no
sounds
problem.
great, Alan. I want to thank you for being here right at time. I want to thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for your support. Appreciate it. Thank you also for being there, Alan. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Aaron, for having me as a guest on your show.
You're welcome, bro. I'll tell you, we'll do another one soon. Bye, Alan.
Bye bye. Look forward to it, Aaron.